Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of the DAN Show, and welcome to my latest 2021 NFL preview video. Today, I'm going to break down the Tennessee Titans. Now, if you're new here, this is your first time here, I got a simple question to ask you. Do you like football? Because if so, you're in the right place. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, ring the bell. That way you can get notified every time I come out with a new video. Now, if you've been here before, you already know the drill. You give me a thumbs up, and you drop a comment below. That's what you do. Now, here's how this video works. I'm going to give you 3 things I like about the Titans, followed up by 3 things I don't like about the Titans. But stick around to the very end where I break down the Vegas over-under, and I reveal if I'm going to put action down on the Texans. So let's get started with the first thing I like about the Tennessee Titans. The first thing I like about the Tennessee Titans is the running game. And notice how I didn't say just Derrick Henry. The thing is with the Tennessee Titans is that this team has made a large effort to go back in time and be a power running team. And that's really different than, I think, every other NFL team. And if you pay attention to what they've done, look at the last 3 years. They've drafted an offensive lineman in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft all the last 3 years. Plus, they're giving Roger Stafford $12.3 million this year. And then they're giving Taylor Lewan over $13.3 million this year. So you have 2 players on your offensive lineman that are accounting for over $25.5 million. And that's just this year alone. See, this team puts a very large priority on offensive linemen. And they also drafted Darrynton Evans in the 3rd round last year, a running back. So it's not just Derrick Henry. This team overall is an old school team that is a run first, a power run first team. And this goes hand in hand with the second thing I like about the Tennessee Titans, and that's head coach Mike Vrabel. Back in 2017, the Titans were down to my Chiefs 21-3 at halftime in the AFC wildcard game. And they ended up coming back to win 22-21. Derrick Henry had over 100 yards rushing in the second half. Marcus Mariota caught a deflected pass, ran it in for a touchdown. Yes, Travis Kelce was knocked out late in the second quarter. And if that doesn't happen, the Chiefs do win that game. But bottom line, the Titans advanced in the playoffs. They lose to the Patriots, and then head coach Mike Mularkey was fired. And there was a situation with Mularkey, and I don't remember what it was specifically that got him fired, but I thought it was a big mistake. And so what the Titans did is they fired Mularkey, they hired Mike Vrabel, and I remember at the time thinking this was a big mistake. However, in the next 3 years, he has 3 winning records, and he's gone to the playoffs twice. He's 2-2 in the playoffs, and including an extremely impressive 2019 playoff run where they knock off New England and the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens on the road in the playoffs. So Mike Vrabel really looks like the real deal, and it looks like, you know, he's doing something different. This is a power running team, which in today's NFL is almost unheard of. But I want to say that I admit when I was wrong, and I was completely wrong about Mike Vrabel. Now, the third thing I like about the Tennessee Titans is the big-time additions to the team. I'm talking about the free agent signing of Bud Dupree and the trade for Julio Jones. There were other signings, but these 2 were the big ones, and they're at 2 key positions. In Julio Jones, you have a future Hall of Famer that's going to go opposite of A.J. Brown, and Brown's going to benefit from Julio Jones just being on the field. You're not going to be able to double-team Brown. But I really hope that he learns from Julio off the field of what it takes to be a future Hall of Famer, because the sky's the limit for a guy like A.J. Brown. So I'm really hoping that Julio Jones can help him more off the field than on the field. And he's going to have immense impact on the field. But if he impacts him off the field, watch out, opponents of the Tennessee Titans. And then in Bud Dupree, you have a big outside linebacker to go opposite of Harold Landry. Now, Harold Landry is one of my favorite players. Last year, they went inside Javion Clowney and Vic Beasley. Neither one of them really panned out. The Titans only had 19 sacks last year, so they're expecting a lot of Bud Dupree, and they did give him a lot of money. So these are 2 big-time signings at key positions that the Titans really needed address. So these are fantastic signings by the Titans. And just to recap the three things I like about the Titans, I like the running game, I like head coach Mike Vrabel, and I like the big-time team additions they've made. Now, three things I don't like about the Tennessee Titans. The first thing I don't like about the Titans is what I'm going to refer to as star decline. In Julio Jones, you get a future Hall of Fame wide receiver. That's undeniable, but you're not getting the dominant number one wide receiver you're getting from a few years ago. He was the wide receiver number 2 in Atlanta, and the majority of his career he was the number 1 guy, but now he's option number 3. You're behind Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. How's he really going to respond to that? Now, you have Corey Davis leaving in free agency. You get a great replacement here in Julio Jones, but I don't really think that you're going to get a lot more production on the field that you got from Corey Davis. Corey Davis, a younger player playing for a big contract. You got somebody in Julio Jones who's a declining player who hopefully will add a lot of things off the field, but on the field, are you going to get more production than you got from Corey Davis this year? I'm not really sure that you do. Now, hopefully, he provides off-field mentorship, but on the field, I think that the NFL Network, its top 100 players, they called Julio Jones the 30th best players. There's more than 30 players that are better than Julio Jones. That's more of a lifetime achievement award than what he is currently today. And then with Derrick Henry, he ran for 2,000 yards last year. And most running backs, after you hit 400 touches, you really have a hard time getting back to that level. Now, to be fair, Derrick Henry had 397 touches, not exactly 400, but in the last 2 seasons, he's had 681 regular season carries and 101 carries just in the postseason, and it's going to take its toll. Look at Eddie George from 20 years ago. He was first-team All-Pro after the 2000 season. He had 403 carries and 50 receptions. 2001, for the first time in his 6-year career, he didn't even hit 1,000 yards. After 2000, he just wasn't the same back, and Eddie George is a fair comparison to Derrick Henry. I would love it if Derrick Henry becomes the first guy to go back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, but 7 other running backs that run for 2,000 yards, I got all their numbers right here. O.J. Simpson went for 1,125. Eric Dickerson, 1,234. Barry Sanders, 1,491. Terrell Davis, only 211. Remember, he got hurt very early. Jamal Lewis, 1,006. Chris Johnson, 1,364. Adrian Peterson, 1,266. Nobody's even hit 1,500. The closest was Barry Sanders with a 1,491. So you have an offense that's based around Derrick Henry. Well, no other running back after running for 2,000 yards has even come close. Hopefully Derrick Henry's the number 1, but NFL history says no. The second thing I don't like about the Titans is they're banking really heavy on Bud Dupree. I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here because I said I like the Bud Dupree signing. Now I'm saying I don't, but here's the drill. Bud Dupree was given a 5-year, $82.5 million contract with a $35 million guaranteed. Now, I like Dupree, and it is a great signing, but in Pittsburgh, he was Robin to T.J. Watt's Batman. I mean, his first 4 years, he had 20 sacks, and then 2019, he gets 11.5. Well, Watt had 14.5. And then last year, he gets 8 in 11 games before he gets injured, but his 8 sacks was third best on the Steelers. So you have a guy who's coming off of an injury who's supposed to be the main guy here in Tennessee, but he wasn't the main guy in Pittsburgh. And here's another scenario. What happens if he's a Robin to Harold Landry's Batman? What if Harold Landry plays better than Bud Dupree? Well, Harold Landry's going to want at least $82.5 million. That presents another big problem. So now look, if this works great and Bud Dupree plays like he did in Pittsburgh, but he ends up being the number 1 guy here in Tennessee, great. But he never was the main guy in Pittsburgh, and he is coming off of an injury. And you paid him like a superstar, so he's got to perform now. The third thing I don't like about the Titans is the new corners. The Titans' defense was not good at all last year, so getting some new players was very important for 2021. But your top 3 corners going into the season are Janoris Jenkins, who turns 33 before Halloween. your second round pick, Kristen Fulton, who missed the majority of his rookie season, and your number one pick, Caleb Farley. Now, if you don't know Farley's situation, he sat out last year due to the COVID protocols and had back surgery in March. Now, he was able to play in the Titans' last preseason game, but this is a guy who missed some OTAs and wasn't really 100% going in training camp. Now, this is a former wide receiver turned defensive back. And FYI, for you kids out there, if you're a wide receiver who's over 6 foot tall, strongly consider going to the defensive side of the ball, because if Farley stayed as a wide receiver, there's no way he goes in the first round. But as a defensive back, he definitely does, and he did. Farley's immensely talented, but had injury issues in college and needed back surgery in March, even though he sat out last year. So this is a very raw corner who has some injury issues, and not only does he need to develop fast, he has to produce this year. And then you have Fulton, Kristen Fulton, a second-year player who missed the majority of his rookie season last year due to injuries. He's in the same exact situation. Going into 2021, your number one cornerback's probably Janoris Jenkins, and he hasn't been a number one corner probably since his Pro Bowl season in 2016. He's a solid number two, number three guy, but if he's your number one guy, you're in trouble, because the Titans are the favorite to win the AFC South. So just to recap the three things I don't like about the Titans: I don't like the star decline, and I'm talking, Julio Jones and Derrick Henry. I don't like that they're banking very heavy on Bud Dupree, and I don't like the new corners and overall corner situation for the Tennessee Titans. Now, this is the advanced class. This is where I break down the Titans over-under, and I reveal if I'm going to put action down on the Titans. The over-under for the Tennessee Titans is 9.5, and it's negative 110 for both the over and under, which means that you have to wager $110 to win 100, whether you like over 9.5 wins or under. For Tennessee to make the playoffs, it's negative 150 for yes, which means you have to wager $150 to win 100, and no is plus 130. So if you don't like Tennessee to make the playoff, you wager 100, you win 130. And to win the AFC South is negative 110. Now, first off, I don't like negative numbers to win the division or make the playoffs, so I normally wouldn't suggest that. And the line of 9.5 wins for the season's perfect, because I think the Titans are a 9-10 win team. Me personally, I'm not betting on the Titans this year, but I think your best bet would actually be to bet the Titans to win the division at negative 110. For the over-under, I'm going to say over, but I really think of the Titans as a 9-10 win team. And I do think that they will win the division. And negative 110 isn't that bad of a number. Your best bet might be for the Titans to win the division at negative 110 instead of betting negative 110 at over 9.5 wins. And the reason why is that I wouldn't be surprised if they win the division at 9-8. So again, I'm not betting on the Titans. I kind of like over 9.5. Again, I think Titans are a 9-10 win team. They are my favorites to win the division. But your best bet might be to take the Titans win the division at negative 110 instead of betting over or under 9.5. Now, if you haven't already, give me the thumbs up, man. Hit that like button, and most important, put a comment below, because this video is simply a conversation starter. I offer my opinion, but I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you think. Now, tomorrow, I'm breaking down the Seattle Seahawks, so I will see you tomorrow.